Right now, President Trump is in a legal showdown with multiple states over his ability to deploy the National Guard troops to American cities. In just the last couple of hours, a federal judge says it's not going to block the Trump administration from sending the Texas National Guard into the city of Chicago, at least until they hear arguments in a new lawsuit filed by the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. But a different judge blocked a similar move in Portland over the last 72 hours. There's a lot going on here, and so Kent took a look at all of it.
Protests outside ICE facilities in Chicago and Portland in recent days have been described in two very different ways.
Portland is burning to the ground.
There's no need for military intervention in Oregon. There's no insurrection in Portland. There's no threat to national security.
Whether or not you believe the local governors and mayors or the Trump administration, legal scholars say what happens next is most critical.
Right now, we're walking on a fine line because there are troops there physically. It's unclear exactly what they're doing.
University of Minnesota political science and law professor Tim Johnson says a federal ruling out of California back in September already found that President Trump's use of National Guard troops and Marines in Los Angeles this summer violated the Posse Comitatus Act, which bars the military from participating in civilian law enforcement.
The courts have continued to say that this is not something that the administration has the power to do.
Johnson says that's why he wasn't surprised to see even a Trump-appointed judge block the administration from sending the Oregon National Guard into Portland this weekend. But he was surprised to see what the response was.
So the administration said we will bring in several hundred troops from California, in essence, to get around the decision.
The judge responded in a rare emergency hearing hours later
and said you will bring in no troops from any states for a minimum of 14 days until we have a hearing. And I believe that hearing is set for October 17th.
We are appealing that decision.
But while the legal battle plays out, the administration ordered another 400 members of the Texas National Guard to Portland and Chicago, arguing they are needed to protect federal officers and assets, which is what prompted yet another lawsuit in Illinois today.
The Trump administration is following a playbook: cause chaos, create fear and confusion, make it seem like peaceful protesters are a mob by firing gas pellets and tear gas canisters at them. Why? To create the pretext for invoking the Insurrection Act so that he can send military troops.
What are you watching as we have this situation playing out in Oregon and in Chicago now?
One is this issue of federalism, and that is, where does police power lie? We know that historically, we know that according to precedent all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, that the vast majority of police power, that is to keep the public safe, resides in the hands of state governments or local governments and not in the hands of the federal government. That doesn't mean in practicality that they don't have the power, because if the administration wants to ignore judges, there's no one really there to stop them.
Now, speaking again of the federal judge that chose not to block the deployment of the Guard to Chicago today, she said she needed more time to review the case and called for a hearing on Thursday. But in the meantime, the New York Times reports that around 200 Texas Guard members are set to fly into Chicago tonight and will be operating there sometime later in the week. Meanwhile, President Trump also said today that he could try another tactic, invoking the Insurrection Act, quote, if people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or mayors or governors were holding us up. Jana.
Kent, if he did activate the Insurrection Act, I imagine that's going to have legal pushback as well, because that's no small thing.
Yeah, Tim said that would likely fast track things to the Supreme Court. There'd be a lawsuit, and then the Supreme Court would have to try to settle this. Where they come down on it, though, nobody knows.
Yeah, welcome back to work, Supreme Court. Thanks, Kent. We'll be